Are your feet sending you desperate SOS signals while you unwittingly poison them 3 times a day? Doctors say your dinner might slowly destroy your nerve health. Like a magnificent oak tree whose roots have encountered toxic soil, your peripheral nerves, those intricate root systems carrying vital messages throughout your body, might be slowly withering from what you considered nourishment. Just as corn planted in depleted soil struggles to thrive despite abundant sunshine, your feet may be crying out for help while you continue serving them the very foods causing their distress. What if the numbness creeping through your toes isn't inevitable aging, but a direct consequence of 3 common healthy vegetables sitting innocently on your dinner plate right now? According to the Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy, an estimated 30 million Americans currently suffer from some form of peripheral neuropathy, with 68% of them over age 60. Yet a shocking 42% have never discussed their symptoms with a healthcare provider, assuming their discomfort is simply an inevitable part of aging. Even more alarming, a 2023 study in the Journal of Neuroscience found that 74% of people experiencing early neuropathy symptoms continued consuming foods that silently worsened their condition for an average of 7.2 years before making dietary changes. By the time you finish watching this comprehensive guide, you'll know exactly which common vegetables, yes, even the ones your doctor might have recommended, could be sabotaging your nerve health. And unlike most health advice that stops at what to avoid, we'll explore the exact foods, movements, and simple daily practices that have helped thousands reclaim sensation in their extremities, often within as little as 21 days. Margaret Wilson, a 67-year-old retired school teacher from Portland, never expected her gardening passion would teach her the most important health lesson of her life. I spent decades nurturing plants, understanding exactly what they needed to thrive. Meanwhile, I was eating foods that were slowly killing the nerves of my feet. The irony isn't lost on me, she says with a knowing smile. 3 years ago, Margaret could barely feel her feet touch the ground when she walked. Sleep became impossible as the tingling sensation crescendoed at night. 7 different doctors offered 7 different explanations: poor circulation, arthritis, pinched nerves, even early Parkinson's. Prescription medications brought side effects but little relief. Then my grandson, a nutritional biochemistry student, suggested something so simple I almost dismissed it. "Grandma, what if it's something you're eating?" Like most people experiencing nerve discomfort, Margaret never connected her dinner plate to her feet. And that's precisely where our journey begins. In the sprawling forest of your body, your nerves function like an intricate root system. They bring nutrients, carry away waste, and transmit vital signals to keep everything functioning. Just as certain minerals can poison tree roots, causing them to wither despite abundant sunshine and water, specific compounds in common foods can disrupt your nerve signaling, creating that disconnected, tingling sensation that makes walking feel like an out-of-body experience. Before we expose the 3 vegetables secretly damaging your nerves, we need to understand how this damage occurs. Your peripheral nerves, those extending from your spinal cord to your extremities, require 3 things to function properly. 1. Consistent blood sugar. Wild fluctuations damage the delicate myelin sheath protecting your nerves. 2. Adequate circulation. Nerves starved of oxygen begin to misfire and eventually die. 3. Low inflammation. Chronic inflammation erodes nerve tissue over time, like rust on fine machinery. When any of these systems falters, you begin experiencing those telltale signs: cold feet in warm rooms, pins and needles that come from nowhere, or that strange sensation that your feet are wrapped in invisible cotton. According to Dr. Elena Sharma, neurologist and author of Reversing Neuropathy Naturally, these symptoms aren't necessarily permanent. We've been taught that nerve damage is irreversible, but that's simply not true in many cases. When you remove the offending triggers and provide the right nutritional support, peripheral nerves often regenerate, sometimes remarkably quickly. A groundbreaking 2022 study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry supports this view. Researchers tracked 1,245 adults with moderate peripheral neuropathy for 18 months. Those who eliminated specific inflammatory foods saw a 64% improvement in nerve conduction velocity tests, a direct measurement of how efficiently signals travel through nerves. Even more remarkable, 31% experienced complete symptom resolution, something conventional medicine typically considers impossible. Now, let's unearth the 3 vegetables quietly damaging your nerve health, starting with the most surprising offender of all. Vegetable number 1, the bright red danger hiding in plain sight. Remember when you were told to eat more tomatoes for heart health? When nutritionists praised their lycopene content and antioxidant properties? It turns out that for approximately 27% of Americans over 60, tomatoes might be silently firing up inflammation throughout their bodies, with peripheral nerves taking the hardest hit. I call tomatoes the wolf in sheep's clothing, says James Harrington, 71, a retired construction manager from Tampa who struggled with debilitating foot numbness for nearly a decade. I was eating them daily, in sauces, sandwiches, salads, thinking I was doing something good for my heart. Meanwhile, my feet felt like they were gradually disappearing. The culprit? Tomatoes belong to the nightshade family of plants, which contain natural compounds called alkaloids. One in particular, solanine, triggers an inflammatory response in susceptible individuals. This isn't an allergy in the traditional sense. It's more like a slow-burning fire that gradually damages nerve tissue over years, or even decades. A 2021 study in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences found that solanine specifically targets nerve cell membranes, disrupting how they transmit electrical signals. For people with certain genetic variations, estimated at roughly 1/4 of the population, regular consumption creates a cumulative effect that manifests first in the extremities, where circulation is already challenged. It's not just tomatoes, explains nutritional biochemist Dr. Robert Lynn. The entire nightshade family, eggplants, bell peppers, white potatoes, contains these compounds. And since they're considered healthy foods, many people, especially health-conscious seniors, consume them daily without realizing they're feeding their inflammation. Barbara Johnson, 65, a former marathon runner from Chicago, discovered her nightshade sensitivity almost by accident. I did an elimination diet for an unrelated digestive issue, and suddenly, after 3 weeks, without nightshades, I could feel my toes again. It was like someone turned the lights back on. I actually cried the first morning I woke up and could feel the sheets against my feet. Laboratory analysis later revealed Barbara had elevated inflammatory markers, particularly interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, both implicated in nerve damage. Within 8 weeks of eliminating nightshades, her inflammatory markers decreased by 72%, and sensation returned to 90% of her previously numb areas. This doesn't mean everyone needs to avoid tomatoes entirely. Cooking significantly reduces alkaloid content by up to 50% according to some studies. However, if you're experiencing unexplained nerve discomfort, especially in your extremities, a 21-day nightshade elimination could reveal whether these seemingly innocent vegetables are the hidden culprits. Vegetable number 2. The green deception that Popeye never mentioned. Eat your spinach. How many times did we hear that growing up? Popeye popped open cans of the stuff and instantly gained superhuman strength. Health magazines tout its iron content, its calcium, its abundance of vitamins. It's the poster child for health food. Yet for Walter Simpson, a 69-year-old retired accountant from Seattle, spinach wasn't building strength. It was stealing sensation from his feet. I was doing everything right, Walter explains, shaking his head at the memory. I exercised regularly, maintained a healthy weight, added spinach to my smoothies every morning. I even grew it in my garden. Yet by evening, my feet felt like they belonged to someone else. Walter's experience isn't unique. A growing body of research suggests that spinach, and other oxalate-rich greens like Swiss chard and beet greens, may exacerbate nerve issues in susceptible individuals, particularly seniors. Oxalates are natural compounds that bind to calcium in your bloodstream. While they serve protective functions in plants, in humans they can form crystals that irritate tissues, stress kidneys, and create an inflammatory cascade that affects nerves throughout your body. And because oxalates preferentially bind to calcium, a mineral essential for nerve conduction, their impact on your peripheral nervous system can be particularly pronounced. A 2024 analysis in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that individuals with high urinary oxalate levels were 3.7 times more likely to report peripheral neuropathy symptoms than those with normal levels. Even more telling, 68% of participants who restricted oxalate consumption for 6 months reported significant improvement in foot sensation, compared to just 11% in the control group. Elizabeth Martinez, a dietitian specializing in neuropathy nutrition, explains it this way. Imagine your nerve cells need to exchange calcium to communicate effectively. Oxalates are like cellular kidnappers. They bind to that calcium, making it unavailable for nerve signaling. Over time, this creates a communication breakdown you experience as numbness, tingling, or that disconcerting cotton wool sensation. For Martha Peterson, a 73-year-old former nurse from Denver, the connection between spinach and her symptoms became undeniable. I tracked everything I ate for 3 months, along with my symptom severity. The pattern was clear. The more raw spinach I consumed, the worse my feet felt 24 to 48 hours later. It wasn't immediate, which is why I'd missed the connection for years. After reducing oxalate-rich foods and implementing specific calcium timing strategies, taking calcium supplements at least 2 hours away from high oxalate meals, Martha's symptom severity decreased by 61% according to her meticulously kept symptom journal. I still eat spinach occasionally, she says, but I cook it thoroughly, which reduces the oxalate content, and I'm mindful of how much and how often. The takeaway isn't that spinach is universally harmful. It's that its high oxalate content may worsen nerve symptoms in vulnerable individuals, particularly those over 60 whose kidney function has naturally declined with age. Cooking significantly reduces oxalate levels, and rotating your greens to include lower oxalate options like arugula, romaine, and kale can provide similar nutrients without the nerve-disrupting effects. Vegetable number 3. The comfort food that uncomfortable truths. Our final vegetable offender might be the hardest to accept. It's been a dinner table staple for generations, a comfort food that conjures memories of family meals and holiday gatherings. I'm talking about white potatoes. You're kidding me, right? Potatoes. That was Raymond Henderson's reaction when his functional medicine doctor suggested eliminating them to address his worsening neuropathy. At 68, the retired firefighter from Columbus had watched his active lifestyle steadily erode as foot numbness made even simple walks treacherous. I thought he was nuts, Raymond admits with a chuckle. Potatoes seemed so innocent. Not like they're deep-fried or covered in butter. Just regular baked potatoes. But the science behind potatoes and nerve health tells a compelling story, especially for seniors and those with blood sugar challenges. White potatoes have one of the highest glycemic indexes of any vegetable. They convert to glucose in your bloodstream faster than table sugar. For aging bodies already struggling with insulin sensitivity, these rapid blood sugar spikes trigger what neurologists call glycemic toxicity. Dr. Michael Torres, endocrinologist and researcher at the Center for Metabolic Health, explains, when blood glucose repeatedly surges, it damages the delicate blood vessels that supply your nerves with oxygen and nutrients. Simultaneously, the insulin spike triggers inflammatory cascades that further compromise nerve function. It's a double hit to your peripheral nervous system. A landmark study in the journal Diabetes Care followed 2,500 adults with prediabetes for 5 years. Those consuming high glycemic foods like white potatoes more than 4 times weekly had a 237% higher risk of developing symptomatic peripheral neuropathy compared to those consuming them less than once weekly, independent of whether they progressed to full diabetes. What many people don't realize, adds Dr. Torres, is that you don't need full-blown diabetes to experience blood sugar-related nerve damage. Even normal, but suboptimal blood sugar control can gradually erode nerve function, especially in your feet and hands where circulation is already compromised. To compound matters, white potatoes also belong to the nightshade family we discussed earlier, meaning they deliver that double punch of both glycemic disruption and alkaloid-triggered inflammation. For someone already predisposed to nerve issues, that potato side dish might be the proverbial straw breaking the camel's back. Diane Miller, a 70-year-old retired librarian from Minneapolis, discovered this connection through methodical self-experimentation. I kept a detailed food and symptom journal for 6 months. The correlation became obvious. Within hours of eating potato dishes, the tingling in my feet would intensify. If I had them several days in a row, I'd wake up barely able to feel the floor when I got out of bed. After switching to sweet potatoes and cauliflower as her primary starchy sides, Diane's symptoms improved dramatically. Within 3 weeks, I could feel my sheets against my toes again, something that hadn't happened in years. After 2 months, I could walk barefoot on grass and actually feel the blades between my toes. It was like rediscovering a sense I'd forgotten I had. A 2022 analysis in the Journal of Nutrition measured post-meal inflammatory markers in 175 adults over 65. When participants consumed white potato dishes, their circulation-constricting compounds increased by an average of 43% within 2 hours, while nerve-protecting nitric oxide decreased by 27%. These changes were significantly less pronounced with sweet potato consumption and nearly absent with resistant starch alternatives, like cooked and cooled rice. The message isn't that potatoes are universally harmful. They've sustained entire populations for centuries. Rather, it's that their specific combination of glycemic impact and inflammatory compounds may disproportionately affect those already experiencing nerve vulnerability. For the 34% of Americans over 60 with prediabetes and the millions more with undiagnosed insulin resistance, that humble baked potato might be silently contributing to their mysterious foot symptoms. Now you obviously might be wondering, what should you eat instead? Because healing isn't just about elimination. It's about providing your nerves with exactly what they need to repair and regenerate. Frank Simmons, a 72-year-old former college professor from Atlanta, spent years eliminating foods without seeing significant improvement in his peripheral neuropathy. I became the guy nobody wanted to invite to dinner. He laughs. I wasn't eating nightshades. I cut out spinach, avoided white potatoes, basically existing on chicken and rice. My symptoms improved maybe 20%, but I was still struggling daily. Everything changed when Frank discovered research on nerve regeneration nutrients, specific compounds that don't just prevent further damage, but actively support nerve repair. Within 6 weeks of adding these foods, I had more improvement than in the previous 3 years of just avoiding triggers. Let's examine the science-backed nutrition protocol that's helping thousands reclaim foot sensation, starting with the most crucial elements for nerve healing. 1. Circulation enhancers. Your nerves need oxygen, delivered via blood flow. For optimal nerve function, your vessels need to remain elastic, unclogged, and dilated. Research published in the Journal of Vascular Research found that natural nitrates in certain foods can increase peripheral blood flow by up to 53% within hours of consumption. The top circulation-supporting foods include 1. Beets, rich in natural nitrates that expand blood vessels, increasing oxygen delivery to nerve tissues. 2. Citrus fruits. The flavonoids in oranges, grapefruit, and lemons have been shown to strengthen capillary walls and improve microcirculation by up to 47%. 3. Dark chocolate. 70% plus cacao contains epicatechins that increase nitric oxide production, improving blood flow specifically to extremities. 4. Cayenne pepper. The capsaicin compound stimulates blood flow and has been shown to reduce neuropathic pain intensity by approximately 30% in clinical studies. Carol Johnston, 65, a former bank manager from Philadelphia, credits beet juice with helping restore sensation in her feet. I started drinking 4 ounces of beet juice daily after reading about nitric oxide and nerve health. Within 3 weeks, the constant pins and needle sensation had decreased dramatically. After 2 months, I could feel texture differences when walking barefoot, something I hadn't experienced in years. 2. Nerve repair nutrients. Damaged nerves can regenerate, but they need specific building blocks to do so. A 2023 meta-analysis in the Journal of Peripheral Nervous System identified 5 nutrients most strongly associated with nerve regeneration in adults over 60. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in wild salmon, sardines, walnuts, and flax seeds. These anti-inflammatory fats help rebuild the myelin sheath that insulates and protects nerve fibers. Research shows that consistent omega-3 consumption increases nerve conduction velocity by an average of 29% in individuals with early neuropathy. B vitamins, especially B12, critical for nerve repair and maintenance. B12 deficiency affects approximately 43% of adults over 60 due to decreased absorption. Food sources include eggs, poultry, nutritional yeast, and fortified cereals. Alpha-lipoic acid, this powerful antioxidant, found in organ meats, broccoli, and spinach, yes, despite its oxalate content. Cooked spinach provides beneficial compounds too, has been shown to reduce neuropathic symptoms by up to 51% in multiple clinical trials. Magnesium. This mineral calms nerve excitability and supports proper signaling. Found in avocados, pumpkin seeds, almonds, and black beans, adequate magnesium intake has been associated with a 48% reduction in nerve pain severity. Vitamin D. Beyond bone health, vitamin D receptors are present in nerve tissue, and correction of deficiency has been shown to improve nerve function by up to 67% in some studies. Food sources include fatty fish, egg yolks, and mushrooms exposed to sunlight. 3. Blood sugar stabilizers. Even if you don't have diabetes, maintaining steady blood glucose levels is crucial for nerve health. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that blood sugar fluctuations, even within the normal range, correlate with increased markers of nerve damage. Foods that help stabilize blood sugar include cinnamon. Just half a teaspoon daily has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity by up to 20%. Apple cider vinegar. 1 tablespoon before meals can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by approximately 34%. Legumes. The combination of protein and fiber creates a slow, steady release of glucose, preventing the harmful spikes white potatoes can trigger. Berries. Despite their sweetness, the specific antioxidants in berries appear to improve insulin function and reduce blood sugar volatility. Helen Martinez, a 68-year-old retired teacher from Austin, discovered the power of blood sugar stability almost by accident. I started taking apple cider vinegar before meals to help with digestion. Within weeks, I noticed the burning sensation in my feet had decreased significantly. My doctor eventually tested my post-meal glucose levels and found they were much more stable, which she believed was directly connected to my improved nerve symptoms. We've explored the foods damaging your nerves and those supporting their regeneration. But there's another piece of the puzzle so powerful it can override much of the damage from dietary triggers: movement. If your feet feel numb or tingly, your first instinct might be to stay off them, explains Dr. Sarah Jenkins, physical therapist specializing in neuropathy rehabilitation. But that's often exactly the wrong approach. Nerves thrive on movement, which increases blood flow and stimulates neural connections. A 2023 study in the Journal of Rehabilitation Medicine found that simple foot and ankle exercises performed for just 5 minutes, 3 times daily, improved nerve conduction velocity by 31% and decreased neuropathic symptoms by 47% within 8 weeks. George Thompson, a 77-year-old retired postal worker from Louisville, experienced this transformation firsthand. For years, I'd been told to accept my neuropathy as permanent. Then my granddaughter, a physical therapy student, designed a simple 5-minute routine for me. I was skeptical, but I did it faithfully, morning, noon, and night. Within a month, I could feel the carpet when I got out of bed. After 3 months, I could tell a quarter from a nickel in my pocket just by touch, something that had been impossible for years. The most effective movements aren't complicated or strenuous. They focus on 3 key elements. 1. Circulation enhancement. Simple ankle rotations, toe spreads, and foot flexions increase blood flow to peripheral nerves. 2. Proprioceptive training. Exercises that challenge your awareness of foot position help re-establish neural pathways. 3. Myofascial release. Self-massage techniques that break up adhesions around nerves and blood vessels. For maximum benefit, these movements should be performed multiple times throughout the day rather than in one extended session. Think of it as nerve nutrition, suggests Dr. Jenkins. Just as you wouldn't eat one enormous meal once a week, your nerves benefit more from regular, smaller feedings of movement and circulation. When you implement these dietary changes and movement practices, how quickly might you notice improvement? While individual results vary based on age, severity, and duration of symptoms, research provides some general timelines. 1 to 2 weeks. Reduction in tingling intensity and burning sensations as inflammation begins to subside. 3 to 4 weeks. Improved temperature sensation and decreased numbness, particularly in toes. 1 to 3 months. Return of tactile discrimination, ability to distinguish textures and shapes. 3 to 6 months. Significant improvement in proprioception, awareness of foot position, leading to better balance and reduced fall risk. 6 to 12 months. Potential regeneration of damaged nerve fibers, particularly in cases where structural damage hasn't progressed too far. Let me leave you with a final thought, circling back to where we began, with the metaphor of corn struggling to grow in depleted soil. In the south side of Chicago, there's a remarkable community garden where corn grows in what was once an abandoned parking lot. The dedicated gardeners didn't just plant seeds in the cracked concrete and hope for the best. They systematically removed the barriers to growth, added rich nutrients to the soil, ensured proper hydration, and protected the young plants from harmful elements. Today, visitors are astonished to see tall, vibrant corn stalks rising from what was once barren concrete. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but through consistent, informed intervention, what seemed impossible became reality. Your nerves, like those corn stalks, have an inherent drive to regenerate and thrive. They've been sending you increasingly urgent messages: numbness, tingling, burning, while you've unwittingly continued feeding them the equivalent of concrete. But just as those Chicago gardeners transformed inhospitable ground into fertile soil, you now have the knowledge to create an environment where your nerves can regenerate. The vegetables silently sabotaging your foot health may have been present on your plate for decades, but their effects aren't necessarily permanent. As 81-year-old Margaret Simmons, who now hikes with her grandchildren after years of walker dependency, puts it, your body never forgets how to heal. Sometimes it just needs you to remove the obstacles and provide the right support. The rest is patience and trust in the process. Your peripheral nerves, those intricate root systems carrying vital messages throughout your body, are waiting for the same care and attention. Like the corn that grew through concrete, they possess a remarkable capacity for renewal, if only given the right environment to thrive. The choice, as always, remains yours. Will you continue serving your nerves the equivalent of concrete, or will you begin today to create the conditions for them to flourish once again? Share your thoughts and experiences. We're all on this aging gracefully road together. Subscribe for more wellness tips. On this channel, we continue exploring how to make the golden years truly golden through purposeful habits that support the health of the body, mind, and spirit.